Hi there, I'm Coach Craig Kenneth.
And I'm Coach Victoria.
And today we're going to be talking about I wanted to be sure. Well, with dating, you have to deal with a lot of uncertainty. A lot of uncertainty. And dating somebody and getting into a relationship is a very big risk. Because you're risking heartbreak with anybody that you get attached to for a lot of different reasons. And, it's tough to get emotionally invested with somebody, and it can be scary. And, even for the healthiest and most secure people, dating is a risk, right? But when you have attachment trauma and you struggle with your insecurities, it's an even bigger risk because you've already been hurt in those areas by your caregivers, by your family. And so now you're going to be more sensitive to those things happening to you in your romantic life. So we've got an email coaching today, and this is from a gay couple. The guy doing the coaching is in his mid-20s, and he was dating a guy that was a few years older. But you're going to see some of the attachment issues coming out very early on. And so, when you see attachment issues coming out, first date, second date, third date, that tells me somebody's been through a lot. They have some trauma. Maybe they even have like a disorganized attachment style. Like, I had a girl tell me she loved me 4 times on a second date. You know what I mean? Like, how do you don't even know me. You know what I mean? Like, how could you love me?
Yeah.
So, no boundaries. You know what I mean? Things like that are going to happen, and you've got to be aware of those things because the person that you're dating could get hurt, or if you struggle with those issues, you're going to get hurt easily.
And there's nothing wrong with wanting to be sure of your partner. However, it does take a turn for the worst if you're trying to be certain of every single detail and trying to gain control of a situation that you can't possibly have control over.
Yeah.
So.
And trying to be sure takes time also, okay? And so we're going to see some of this coming up early on in the situation. So, like I said, this couple, they met and they dated for about 4 months, okay? He said they met on an app where they were talking for a month before they finally met. He said he showered me with love on our first date and was very intimate, but I refused his sexual advances because I wanted to be sure he was the one. So I'm seeing a lot of red flags just in that one sentence, right? Okay. First of all, why is somebody that barely knows you trying to shower you with love? It almost makes me wonder if he's like doing some love bombing or something like that. Because, you're on a first date. You should be just trying to spend time with the person, see how well you get along for a few hours, just having some fun. Very basic stuff should be going on here, not showering somebody with love. And obviously he was pushing for intimacy on this first date.
And it makes you wonder if he's that way with you on a first date, is he that way with other people on a first date? You don't know this person, you don't know what their personality is like, you don't know really what their intentions are like.
Absolutely. And for him to be saying, the one who did the email, I wanted to be sure he's the one. Why are you even thinking about those things on the first date? It should be, I wanted to get to know him better. I want to see how things were going to go. But when you're talking about things like the one, that's a huge leap on a first date to even be thinking about stuff like that.
Right.
So he said, we only had sex on our third date. I guess he was the one by then, right? Over at his place, and it was hot. Unfortunately, one of us had gonorrhea, and both had to be treated at the same time, where he went to another country with his friends. So we did not see each other for about a month. Okay, so the first thing I thought is that the other guy probably had the gonorrhea, since if he's worried about someone being the one on a first date, he's probably not hooking up with many people, I would think.
Right.
Maybe not, but
And it's completely up to you guys whenever you decide to be intimate with
Sure.
a person. As long as everybody's consenting adults, then that's fine. However, when things come into play like sexual safety, and we can see that he's, being a little bit reckless here, we don't know when the last time he was tested. It's a risk. So, you guys have all the power in the world to do as you wish with your bodies and with the people that you meet, as long as everyone's consenting. But remember to be safe and take care of yourselves too, because you just don't know people.
Yeah, absolutely. And, obviously, you're putting your life at risk when you're intimate with some people, because, there are STDs out there that are untreatable or uncurable, right? So, if you want to take your time getting to know somebody, I'm all for that, right? However, when you're thinking about things like the one, that's making me feel like you've got some kind of attachment trauma going on there. Right? Let's go on. He said, I had a lot of thoughts during that period, meaning that 3 or 4 weeks where the guy was away. We had gone on 6 or 7 dates at that point, and I wasn't sure where we were headed with this. So now this other guy's gone. He's ruminating. Where are we at? Where do we stand? What are we doing? So I asked him about us when he came back, and that took him by surprise. Yeah, sure, he's probably thinking, wait, we've only gone out like 6, 7 times, and we're talking about where we're at? I haven't seen you in a month.
And the other guy's thinking, we've gone out 6 or 7 times, and I haven't heard from you, and you've been gone for a month.
How am I going to know if you're the one?
Right, 2 totally different perspectives.
Exactly. He told me that he didn't know I wanted something serious and is afraid of being vulnerable. Okay, sure. Yeah, I mean, I could sense that right away.
And I'm curious too, 6 or 7 dates in, and they haven't had that discussion about where they want their relationship to go.
Yeah.
Not necessarily that you have to have the what are we talk, more of the what are you looking for, or what do you hope to get out of a relationship or out of our connection.
Just some idea of where you guys are going.
Right.
His last relationship was 5 years ago, much like myself. I propose that we take baby steps and see how we both feel after a few more dates. He's like, a few more? I'll give you 3 more than I need to know. But he called me 5 days later and said he doesn't want anything serious. We should just stay friends with benefits.
That's crystal clear right there.
Yes, I think so. He probably felt the pressure of the conversation, thought, I don't like the way this plan is going. This isn't what I want. I don't want to do that. Right? He says, I cried after the phone call, but did not show much of that emotion when we met the next day for brunch. Okay, so they had this conversation. I guess he kind of agreed to friends with benefits. Then they go out to brunch for the next day. Since that conversation, I felt that he had grown distant and less responsive on text. And that makes sense, because at that point, he says, I see us as friends with benefits. And not pursuing like some kind of romantic exclusivity. Right?
Yeah, and I'm also thinking about just their different expectations coming into this. It's clear that from the beginning, this guy really took his time, at least with being physical. I mean, take your time is really subjective.
Yeah.
However, he didn't go through with the physical intimacy on the first date. He was already mentioning things about the one. It's clear that that sexual connection meant something to him. Versus with the other person, he was saying, well, this seems to be only physical, and that's okay with me. So that big disconnect there is causing him a lot of distress.
Yeah, anxiety and pain, right? This made me very anxious, and I had to beg for a kiss and hug every time we met. After 2 more dates, he stopped responding to me altogether until one day where he said he was too overwhelmed because our meetings had still been datey as ever, despite what we had agreed upon. Well, I think he agreed upon it, but you didn't agree upon it. He thought he was making himself clear, and I think you were just pushing your agenda still, hoping for something more. Right? But you don't want to ignore what somebody's telling you.
Right. And you can't change people. When they tell you exactly where they stand, what they want, it's really not in your favor to try to convince them or to try to trick them or try to change their mind.
Yeah. Yeah, because it winds up just making you hurt a lot of times. We sat down for another talk, and he said that I am not the one. So, I want the one, you're not the one. Right? Now, the fact that he's telling him you're not the one makes me think that the guy who did the email coaching had probably brought that idea up to him several times.
Right.
Because who would say you're not the one out of nowhere? It just doesn't seem like something you would normally casually say unless somebody's kind of brought that up to you. And if you were bringing something like that up early on in dating, I think it's going to scare a lot of people off. Right?
Yeah.
He says that he finds me attractive and he likes me as a person and he enjoys spending time with me, but I am just not the one. So, okay, he's reiterating. So, you got to be careful about bringing things like that up to people that you're first starting to date, because it's likely going to sabotage things. Had you maybe not pressured, maybe over time he would have started to thought, oh, we are getting along really well, and this does feel really good, and we do get along, and all these things. But because there's this pressure behind it of the one, that scares a lot of people.
And it seems like there's almost a preoccupied thought with the one, or this one perfect person who's going to come into my life, be my lifelong partner. And like you mentioned, that's a lot of pressure to put on somebody on the first date. You know, the reality is that relationships are a little bit clumsy. You know, when you're getting to know each other, it takes time. Not everything is just going to blend together perfectly from the start. And I think that takes just a dose of realism. And not to say that the one doesn't exist or does exist, you know, that those are all personal beliefs, but just thinking about what you're putting onto the other person here. You know, you're putting your expectations of you have to be in it or not at all.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's overwhelming. I argued that we had only seen each other for 3 months and it was too premature of a decision to make. I mean, I agree with that, but I also disagree with that. I do agree that maybe it is a little bit premature, but also at the same time, there have been girls I've gone out with for a couple times. I could have told them right away they weren't the one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if there's enough there and it does seem to have a lot going for it, then, you know, I might say, okay, you know, maybe that's a discussion or something you should say, you know, why don't you give it a little bit longer? But, you know, if I've gone out with somebody for 2 or 3 times and I'm like not feeling it, I don't need another 3 more times to know they're not the one, you know?
Right. And everybody has the ability to consent with how they want to spend their time, who they want to continue to get to know. And it seems like at this point, he's already overwhelmed.
Yes.
So
we finally agreed that we would do a month trial of dating to assess things. I do have to acknowledge that I definitely was quite anxious, as I didn't have the luxury of time on my side and had to do everything to impress him. I don't even know where to start with that. There's so many insecurities that are just coming out in that. I mean, this to me is really about attachment issues. I mean, the fact that you're thinking of it in these terms of, I have 1 month to impress this person, otherwise I'm going to lose him, is not looking at it from a healthy place. It should be a place of, we're going to give this a short trial to see if we line up and we get along well. And if it continues to go well, at that point, we'll discuss continuing further. That feels healthy.
Right. If you're getting to the point where you're begging for a hug every time you see a person, you know, you're not prioritizing yourself and your needs and following after people or pursuing people who can meet those needs. You know, you want to be able to choose people who equally choose you.
Yeah, it really seems like he's putting this other guy on a pedestal.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, and he's almost treating this as if it's his only chance. You know, he doesn't even know this person, and he's treating him like he is the one.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, you know, this other guy could be going on 100 dates, okay? And let's say he connects really well with I don't know, 30 of them. Out of that 30 people that he really connects with, let's say that there's 20 people that are aligned on his goals, that, you know, also want a friends with benefits situation. Why is he going to spend time with people that, sure, he might connect with well, but who aren't in the direction that he's going?
Sure.
You know, so I can see from his perspective, he might say, hey, I really like you. This isn't about you. Our goals are just not aligned. I want something different, and I'm going to pursue other people who match that energy.
I agree. Yeah. And he could have known that sooner than you wanted him to know it. You were hoping for more time with him for whatever reason. He says, we only had sex once during the trial period because he was consoling his grieving roommate and he had suddenly caught scabies. First of all, don't Google scabies. Don't Google scabies. Victoria Googled scabies before we did this one. She just happened to, I don't even know how she noticed. I was scrolling through it, just getting the email ready, and she saw scabies, and so she Googled it.
When I was in Norway, we had like little sororities and fraternities, and there was a whole fraternity that caught scabies, and in Norwegian they would call it skab. So I just had that memory, that flashback as soon as I saw that word, and Craig was a little bit curious about scabies, so we learned today. But yeah,
we learned don't Google scabies. Right. I know many of you are not going to listen and you're going to regret it.
Right, and it is really contagious, so, you know.
It made me not want to shake anyone's hand ever again because you can get it from shaking hands with somebody.
Yeah.
Right? Eesh. All right. It felt like he was using and finding excuses not to be intimate. And I agree. I think he probably was feeling like, I don't want to get this guy too attached to me because I don't want to hurt him. I think he probably cared about you and probably didn't want to hurt you. And you're looking for the one, and, you know, can we be in a long-term commitment? And I think this other guy is just not feeling that.
Yeah. And it almost seems like at this point, you're not hearing him. You're not listening to what he's telling you. Mm-hmm. He's saying that he's not the one. He's saying that he doesn't want this type of commitment. And it seems like you're still trying to force something that's just not there, you know?
And that's what the anxiety causes us to do, right?
Yeah, and I'm also thinking, really, what's your goal here? Do you think that with more time that he'll change his mind?
I think that's what he was hoping.
You know, it's ultimately comes down to you trying to change a person. And it makes me question, do you think that you're not good enough? Is there something in you that's saying, well, if he really saw who I was, if he spent more time to get to know me and saw who I really was, then he would want to stay. You know, this is not about you. This is not about your worth or your value. Those things are independent of whatever this guy decides to do.
Yep. But when you're coming on like this early on in a relationship, it's going to make the other person feel like there's something going on with you, maybe that you have low self-esteem or self-worth or something like that. Mm-hmm. Similarly, he became distant near the end of the trial. He told me that we had no chemistry and that there was nothing wrong with me and there was nothing I was lacking. He said we should stay as normal friends only. We agreed to have a cool down period till New Year's at least, and I'm maintaining no contact. So he's still really hoping that this is going to be something more than what this other guy wants. Yeah. I'm not sure. Was there truly no chemistry between us, or was he just avoidant the moment he realized I wanted something serious? I mean, I think it could have been both.
Yeah.
You know? If he felt pressured early on, that could have made him feel like, oh my gosh, I can't be with this person. And that could have turned him off. And he could have been avoidant. I mean, that could have been part of the issue right there.
Right. And there could have been some chemistry there in the beginning, but like I mentioned before, there's probably other people that he equally has chemistry with that he's still getting to know, that have goals that are more aligned to his, that are able to be with him in a way that he can be free and pursue whatever he would like.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. There's a little bit more here. If he does reach out to me in the new year, how should I respond? Well, obviously it's a little past New Year's at this point. We don't know what happened, but it doesn't matter. If he reaches out, I would be friendly. But I would be careful because you don't want to ignore everything that he's told you about what he wants or doesn't want, and just keep hoping that he wants something that he's said all along he doesn't, right? How do I approach this? I'm afraid that he will be overwhelmed again when I try to be physically intimate with him. Well, I think he's going to be afraid to be intimate with you because he doesn't want to hurt you. And he doesn't want to lead you on into believing that he wants something a lot more than you do. And so I think he's going to hesitate for that because he is probably feeling like I can't be casual with him because he gets upset. He feels like we have to talk about exclusivity, being the one, and all these things that he just doesn't want.
Right.
Right?
I can see from your perspective, too. I just want to touch on that. About why this person is so special. It seems like, finally you got the chance to go out with this person. It seems like you were feeling it. And especially for the gay community, that there is a limited amount of potential partners out there. Of course, now with the internet, there's many more ways of connecting with people. However, it's a lot different from the general population. And I want to touch really quick on his perspective too, the person who wrote this email. I can see how this can be a really scary situation. You do go out with somebody, it's several dates in, you feel like you're connecting, you haven't really had that conversation about the direction of the relationship, so you kind of start piling on your assumptions, and then you get your hopes up. And at the same time, being part of the gay community, already your options are more limited than, let's say, the general population. So I can see how that fear can intensify. Am I going to find a lifelong partner? Am I going to be alone? When am I going to find the one? Where is the one? All these fears and worries. I really want to encourage you to really dig deep into those core issues, those messages, the way that you see yourself. I'm willing to bet that you have a lot of really good traits that any person would be really happy to get to know with time, and for that connection to be cultivated. And I will also say, now with the internet, there's so many ways to meet people. You can connect with a much larger community of people than you can probably even fathom.
Yep.
So yeah, just keep all of that in mind, that love isn't a scarce thing. Love is a very abundant thing, and there's lots of time for you to get to know people and discover really what you want.
Yeah, I think it's really important that, he's got to think about the story he's telling himself about this guy. Why is he taking somebody that he barely knows and projecting so much fantasy onto somebody, even on a first date? I mean, I think maybe he's considering, oh, this other guy is very successful like me. I'll just say that they both have very successful careers. So he may have thought, this guy is really attractive, this guy's really successful like me, I really like somebody like this. And so maybe he's fitting in all these different areas in his mind. So he's hoping that it's a lot more than what the other guy is looking for.
Right.
And so maybe there's a story that he's really told himself here, that he sees these things that he's looking for, these qualities, and so he's thinking, oh, this could be the one.
Yeah.
There could be some element of that there too. So, this is a situation where you were just getting to know somebody, and I think your anxiety was causing you not to see or hear what the other person was feeling or experiencing, and anxiety causes us to do that. I talk a lot about that in my video, The Real Reason Relationships Fail. It's a really good one to go back and watch. One of my very early videos, but it was a really good one. So, if he reaches out, I'd be extremely casual, and I would, be honest with yourself. Can you hang out with this guy in a way that's going to feel casual and just enjoy hanging out with him? Because I think if you're looking for something a lot more than he is, he's going to sense it, and I think he's just going to want to, move on from the situation.
Right. And if you are looking for something more serious, an actual relationship, continue to date. Find people who are aligned more to your own goals.
Absolutely. You can't ignore what other people are telling you about what they want or don't want. All right. So hopefully this has been helpful to you. If you want to get our help personally, you can do that on my website, askcraig.net. I do email coaching and I do Skype. Coach Victoria is also available for Skype coaching.
I'm here whenever you need to talk.
Just click on her name on the top of the website to schedule with her. But that's it for this video. I'm Coach Craig Kenneth.
And I'm Coach Victoria.
And we will talk with you soon.